For tonight's shave, we have this Omega 10098, and it is a Hoss long loft, big handle, and so I like the handle part. This is my second use of it, and so we'll be interested to see how this long loft works. I'm guessing it might be too big. See, I've only got this tract of land right here to shave, and so I'm going to guess if I want to keep this guy, maybe I'll restrict it a little bit with some O-rings or something like that. That might be nice, because if it's got lots of these nice bristles, then that may set me up with a nice dense boar brush. Boar brushes do need to be soaked before the shave. This has been soaking for about 15 minutes before the shave. I've got a few boars now that I've recently acquired, and I think one thing I might do is, if I know I'm going to shave with them that night, I will put them in some water and soak them for a few hours that day. I meant to do that today, but I forgot. Today's blade is a Super Iridium extra stainless, better known to most of us as a PolSilver. They don't actually put the words PolSilver on their blades, so that's just the way this one works out. I put an X on it because it's one I'm going to see how far I can take. I've got several that way, and it's going to be a while because I have to take turns like that. So as you can see with this rail, this top cap here is going to keep that blade in a nice centered location. And here's the bottom of the base plate, if you will, and you'll notice something very interesting. That's a pretty flat arc for the blade to sit on. And so maybe that's why the first time I used this razor head, it felt kind of aggressive, a lot of blade feel. Now my technique was very different back then. It has grown, I would hope, and some of those old razors, like the old type and the new improved, and some of those I really enjoy now, and they're wonderful shavers. This one, now that it's got the common bar handle on it, this is a new, all caps, NEW, a new, as you can see, it's open comb, short comb. And I brought my long comb here so you could see the difference. Once they're side by side, it's pretty easy to see which one is the long comb and which one is the short. And notice the different colors of the materials. The handle's pretty much the same, but I don't know, hopefully the resolution, and yeah, in the photograph, in the video here, this one is kind of almost like a copper color. Have I heard the term red brass? I don't remember. This is more of a gold or brass color. So I think they used to just kind of put them together with whatever supplies they had at the time. And so a lot of razors went out with mix matched parts. Okay, so this is the short comb for the Gillette New, and the weight, this bar handle here is hollow, so the weight is really up close to the head. I prefer it when the weight's more around right here, and so if I were to use this a lot, I would probably put on a different handle. It is the standard handle that so many of the other razors will use. All right, the first time I used this was a long time ago, a year and a half, maybe a year. And so let's see how my technique has changed. This PolSilver has been used, looks like 10 times, so it should be just fine. All right, let's get busy. The soap is the last thing to introduce before we start work. Oh, you know what I'm going to do first? I want to get my facial hairs, my beard, my stubble, I want to get it wet so it's easier to cut. you want to bring some soap into that process, that's up to you. My beard seems to be fine if I just do a couple of splashes of water. Some people have huge routines with pre-shave oils, pre-shave cleansers and things like that, and that's okay if your skin needs that or if you just want to do it, you know. But I seem to be fine if I don't. Cella, one of my favorite standbys. One of my favorite ones that have been around for a long, many years. 1899. That's how long this thing's been around. And this is the one of the first soaps that I got when I started wet shaving, and I found Amazon. And this is one of the few good soaps you can get on Amazon. And when it is combined with the big 1 kilogram block, then this can be a very, very economical soap, and it's easy to lather, feels great, nice slick lather, and I like the smell, cherry, almond, marzipan type smell. All right. You may, if you see my other videos with Sela, you will remember that it didn't have this updated logo here. It had the old school one. Well, one of the things about Cella is that they don't put any preservatives in their soap. And so, since I recently got a great deal on the block, the kilogram block of soap, I decided let's not use up any time with the older soap formula, which is probably, could be 3 years, 4 or 5 years older, who knows. And since it doesn't have any preservatives, it's not going to be as good, even if it's just the smell that has changed. But it's probably not going to be as good. So I am going to empty that soap out of that container. I like the look of that vintage container. And when I'm done with this guy and I start hooking chunks out of the block, I'll put them into that vintage container probably. So you'll see that one again, but on down the line. All right, so it is a small bowl, very compact, feels heavy for its size, but I think it travels well, and I just love the feel, the look of it, the way it unscrews. It just kind of feels right. I like that smell. Italian, fairly firm crope. It's not a super hard, definitely not triple milled or anything like that. And I've scooped it before. It does well with that. And today I'm going to use, and the reason I picked it is because I'm going to use this new boar brush. And a lot of times with new boars, you have to go back to the puck. Sometimes even before each pass. But last time I had to do it before the first and then again before the third. Kind of normal. All right, face is wet. Hairs are getting softer. Very nice. And now it's time to take our brush and get rid of some of the, shake out most of the water. Now it's lightly wet, and then we will load this guy up. Let's do a 30-second lather, a 30-second load, and 30. As you can see, some of the bristles kind of don't go inside the tub, but it's fine. So we go all the way to the 0 mark of the next minute. And the longer bristles kind of make it a little bit more difficult to, and there we go, 30 seconds. A little bit more difficult to kind of keep everything in there, you know. But that's how much lather this brush pulled out in its current newness. It'll be able to stir up more as more of the tips start to split and it starts to open up and splay. All right, lather bowl. I've got that, if you're a subscriber and you saw yesterday's video, you'll see that I used a Cool Whip container. But while I've got these boar brushes that are being broken in, I'm just going to go back to my normal bowl because it's not really a fair comparison with lather building for the Cool Whip. I want to use it when I'm in a more normal situation. Let me tilt you down a little bit. See less of my head and more of the lather. We've kind of gotten to a point where it's gotten kind of dryish looking. We've got a little bit of the very dry looking lather, early lather bits. And so now it's time to start adding water. All right, we'll just go ahead and add maybe a teaspoon at a time. Excuse me, sorry. Oh yeah, that smell's coming up to my nose. Very nice. And I'm not a fruity guy. I do have almond soap in the Colonel Conk glycerin version. I have it in the DR Harris. Haven't tried that one yet though. Have the almond in the Velabra as a soft crope. Look at that, 1 teaspoon actually caused quite a bit of action here, just the way it goes. Let's add a little bit more. We'll do it in kind of half teaspoons after that first teaspoon, so slow it down a little. Big old knob of a handle here. Allows you different ways of holding it. This lather's looking good. 2 teaspoons now in the lather. Yeah, there we go. We're starting to get some people call it an explosion when you just magically add that bit of water that pushes it over the edge. And just really, it's the change in the volume of the lather is just exponential. So I'm a bowl latherer. Face latherers have one really nice advantage. You can easily tell when the soap is done needing water when you are face lathering, because you can feel it. You can feel the creaminess on your face. You can feel that just it's so instinctive, and you just can't do that with the bowl. But the good thing with a bowl is if you use a soap consistently, you'll just get to learn how much water you need to add and that sort of thing. Yeah, see, look at that. Huge size comparison. Let's do a little feel test here. Nice resistance. Pretty light on the fingers. I can easily feel my fingerprint ridges. So let's just use it as it is and see. Some soaps are a little tricky. They don't do a linear progression with the slipperiness. They are kind of watery at first and then get creamy and awesome, and then get watery if you keep adding water past that point. Let's look at the pull. Yeah, see, a pretty elastic lather. so we'll see how it is. It seems like it's too dry. However, the way it felt with my fingers, I don't want to add too much water if I don't know for sure. So I am going to wet my face now in prep, because it's kind of dried off from that first one. And that's the only shave prep that I do. If you're lucky, you'll be able to do that too. Yeah, I think this is just too dry. But let's dip back in. And then also, what we'll do is add some water to the brush. Pretty common for young boars to kill the lather like this, just the way it is. And that's why I picked this Cella. I really wanted to do a sample today that I had, but with a boar that's young, you just often have to go right back to the tub. And I didn't want to have to do that with a sample, a little harder. And it's looking better now. Come on now. Nice scent, not too obnoxious. The scent strength is kind of what I'm talking about. Let's check out the new long comb. And does this one have a code on it? You can look up, if it's got a serial number, you can look it up and try to find the date range and that kind of thing. All right. That's awesome. That is so good. Very smooth. Not really very much blade feel. I do feel the hairs I can feel the resistance the hairs are putting up. Super comfortable. See, this guy's been sitting in my drawer unused because I checked him out when my technique wasn't all that great. Or maybe that day I happened to use a blade that wasn't a good match, or who knows. And this is even not a superior lather from Sela, and it's working well. Now, one thing, it could be aggressive enough to where it could generate a little irritation by the end of the shave. So we'll just see. Cross grain is really what this is ending up to be on my neck. It's kind of what I do all three passes, because my grain goes this way and then dips down a little bit. So I can't really do with the grain because that's going this way and my neck is concave in that direction. So I have to either come at it in diagonals this way if I want to kind of stay with the grain. But I just generally just do cross grain. And I'm going to rinse. Yeah, that lather was a little too dry. So I went back and added a little bit more water, and I wanted to kind of increase the creamy nature. So I went back to the puck. Just got some more soap as well. And as you can see, it's acting much more different than it was at first. Still feeling a little bit of prickle from these boar bristles, but that is normal. It's also normal to get several broken hairs on a new brush. That's a much better lather. There we go. And that's just the kind of flexibility you have to have when you are breaking in some boars. Just go back to that tub, find a cheap soap that you can hit a few times per shave. You'll end up using maybe 2 or 3 times as much soap as you should need to normally, but that's just the cost of a new brush. And it may be 5 uses, it may be 10 or 15 uses, but eventually the ones I've used, you'll catch up to it and you'll be fine, and you'll really enjoy your boars. One really cool thing about this razor is it holds the blade really well. It comes right up to the edge and clamps down on it from the top, of course, but also from the bottom. And the perfect alignment every time. You don't have to worry about trying to make sure and check and remember to check the alignment like you sometimes do with other razors. Gentle here on the neck, since I'm going to be hitting it a few times. Tilting the razor slightly and doing motions like that instead of perpendicular can help with a slicing motion. And that can give you better cuts if you need to do something like that. And rinse. Okay, there it was. That was an excellent pass. The creamy part of the rinse was there after this one, so that lather is dialed in and working well. Nice slick glide on the part of the razor. The soap is helping it to move across the skin nicely. Little irritation over here, probably a combination of this kind of aggressive tuning of the razor, but mostly I think it's these bristles, a little bit of brush burn. So we're going to switch quickly to just painting like this. Very nice. So what this is feeling like is it's quite smooth, but it can still bite you. I don't know if I did anything wrong to cause this irritation down here or if it's the brush. Now, an online friend brought up that they wondered about this short comb versus like a 40s style Gillette Super Speed. And so that's why I whipped out this razor. And I'm really glad I did, because this is just much nicer than I recall. He was curious how it compared to the 40s style super speed, which is my favorite of that type. The 40 style is definitely more mild. I think but the 40 style doesn't hold the blade in the same way. And so I think this almost feels the same mildness, but that's because it holds the blade so close to the edge. And that's deceptive because the geometry and the angle that the blade's coming at the skin is actually more aggressive. It just doesn't you don't almost notice how aggressive it is. And so I think it's a terrific razor. I could use this or the 40 style just for the rest of my life with no problems, I believe. So we'll just have to see how everything works out after a couple of shaves with it. All right. I get no irritation from the 40 style super speed, whereas this one is causing me a little bit, but again, it could be the brush. All right, rinse time. Well, I'll tell you what, this razor and this blade have done some effective cutting. There are a few spots where I'm going to hit it again, but there are plenty of spots that are much more bare than they usually are. And so this is a good cutter. Good cutter. All right, let's paint on my fourth pass as the neck only pass. Cheeks are fine. This is just a wonderful slick soap. And I think you get a lot of uses per ounce out of this soap when compared to some of the others, because this doesn't have all those oils and butters and things like that. Let me see. It does have coconut oil, beef tallow, it looks like. Sweet almond oil, that must be some of the, and that's it. Those are all the oils. It doesn't have any of the jojoba oil or any of those that the new artisans have come out with. And so I think you're going to get more uses per ounce out of this, in addition to it costing less per ounce. It's just kind of a double whammy. Feels good on my face. It's not evaporating or anything like that. It does look like I get the feel that if I did not, if I went over a certain area with maybe not holding my skin exactly right, I could get a little nick or some razor burn, something like that. Very slick soap. That's a nice cut. So you get used to the style of it, you get used to the angle you need to use, and so that can increase your comfort with this razor. All right, I'm gonna rinse and clean up and check it out and all that. So I don't really see any length on any of the hairs in my trouble spot area. This is a concave area that is kind of soft right next to my Adam's apple, and first over here it goes in a nice direction that somehow seems to get cut really well all the time, but here it like turns down, or I don't know, it's laying close to the skin or whatever, but it's much more tricky to get that area with no tips that I can see any length on. That is very much above average, and right now I'm not really feeling too much irritation. A tiny bit, 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 maybe, just in my neck area, and I'm guessing that a little bit of work on the directional strategies there. The strokes and directions of the strokes would help with that. Maybe I moved a little too fast, a little careless, who knows. And again, of course, it could be the prickliness of the brush. Actually, I think that's kind of what it is. All right. So how much lather did well? I had to go back to the pug twice, or once after the initial load. So I can't really give you the formula for this one because it's just more of an experiment because of the boar. So what I do at the end, I'll kind of rinse out my bowl here. And this is also cleaning out and rinsing out the brush. I have hard water, so Sela is very hard water tolerant. And then with some brushes, this one these not so much. I'll actually use warm water. In the winter it's cold, and so sometimes it takes a little bit too long to clear out the brush of the soap. And then I'll whip it back and forth inside the sink. And that will get me to this point. Then come over here. And just kind of paint. Because we're drying these. And then if you really want to dry it a lot, you do what I just did, and you'll feel that it's much drier on these bristles. But then whip it like this, and you can feel it getting more moist right here, and that's because it's bringing the moisture out toward the tips because of the centrifugal force. And so then that makes it even easy. You get even more dry when you then take that to the towel. So there we go. It's starting to splay just a little bit. There are even some of the tips that are splitting. You see a couple right there. Yep. So the more that happens, the softer it will feel, and I won't have that prickle. All right. So this is just, I love the handle shaping up nicely. So the Cella, I went back to it again, so it's a mess. They sent me a sample of Tuscany from Stirling. The great thing about Stirling is they'll send you samples of like bath soaps, a little slice of bath soap, a little packet like that of a balm. I'm really laying it on tonight. But and so it really lets you be able to try some interesting things. Find something new. It'll be a little white on me, but then it'll absorb and be just fine. And I picked this one. I was glad to have that sample on hand. I finished it off. I think I was able to use it about 5 or 6 times, since that is pretty cool. This has a similar cherry sweet note. Strawberry cherry, I don't know. And maybe with the word Tuscany, they're referring back to Italy, to maybe that history of the cherry and the marzipan and the almond type scent. And this one, the Tuscany, has this neat background woody scent that seems to come out after the initial sweet fruity kind of starts to fade. And I really like that. It keeps it from being a single focused scent. And so I've really been enjoying that. I've put that on my list to watch out for if there's a sale or something like that, because I like that. I like the Stirling balms a lot. I already have Executive Man and Sharp Dressed Man, 2 terrific versions that are based on Aventus and Green Irish Tweed, respectively. They smell great. All right. So, last thoughts. The 40 Super Speed, 40 style Super Speed, is one that I can almost, it's so mild and nice, treats my skin so well. At the end of the shave, I can almost go against the grain on my neck, and that's really, really rare. think this guy's too aggressive to do that. I'm pretty sure he's going to cause me some irritation, razor burn, and even maybe some cuts because of that. I can't go against the grain normally. So the skin is treated more mildly with the 40 style, even though this one has just a smooth feel to it. I guess what it's doing to your face, you're not really feeling too much. So I think it's a great razor. I think both are. If you want comfort, go with the 40 style that morning. But if you want to mow down a few days of growth, then this open comb is going to be your weapon of choice. And I think if you learn to use it right and get a nice soft brush that's not going to prickle you, I think you'll be in good shape. So it is deceptively aggressive, this the new short comb. Long comb to me was pretty similar, not too different. All right, there we go. We'll do it maybe with a softer brush next time and see if we get any irritation. Excellent shave. Excellent all the way around. I ended up using 3 teaspoons of water, but it's kind of irrelevant, like I said before. I'm glad I revisited this new short comb. I just had dismissed it, and it was because of my technique. And I'll definitely put this, just remember how good this one was. I do like the new improved a lot better. And I think that the old type for me right now is a little nicer. So there we go. Anyway, I hope there was something here for you. And this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Have a good night.